I was studying Hebrew literature at the university in Jerusalem and came across sort of the narrative of writers writing Hebrew in Europe and Eastern Europe, which somehow I had never really been aware of. And I became curious about that, and I had an opportunity to go live in Berlin in 2002. And I became fluent in German and started learning about Jewish culture before the Holocaust rather than what was just, not how everything was destroyed, but sort of what was destroyed, kind of that past that was not a big part of my Israeli upbringing, which was very Holocaust obsessed, but not actually Jewish historically rich in content. And then in the Jewish Museum in Berlin, I stumbled upon one of the loves of my life, Glückel of Hameln. And I was already interested in women's writing, and I was, blown away by that text. And I wound up writing a paper about, I was taking a class on medieval women mystics, so almost related, but not quite. But I ended up writing comparatively about the book of Marjorie Kemp and Glikl of Hameln, because both of them were sort of able businesswomen, and I was interested in the way they talk about God and religion in similar ways. And to read that, though, I read it in German translation by her descendant, Bertha Pappenheim, who's Freud's Anna O, and I, could already tell there was a lot going on. And but reading some of the literature, the secondary literature, I would have, quotes here and there of the Alt Yiddish. And then when I got back to Israel, I thought, well, I already speak German and I have these pieces, and I thought maybe I'll, do Yiddish really for fun. It wasn't. I didn't mean to take it so seriously. And then I started taking Yiddish with Hanan Bordin at Hebrew University, and it was, if Glikl was a crush, this was, a real love story, a combination of Hanan was such a wonderful teacher. I connected to the humor, but not that kind of sprinkled into English Yiddish humor, but rather the kind of critical reading of the Weinreich text and the kind of kvetchiness that it has. So, so Hanan and I both kind of shared that kind of appreciation of Yiddish morbidity through that text and other, value systems. And then I was also at the same time working on Hebrew poetry, and through Dan Miron's kind of attempt to disparage Hebrew women's poetry, he sort of mentions offhand the way it shouldn't have been so hard for Hebrew women writers to write poetry because Yiddish women writers were writing all this poetry. Look at that. And that just, cinched the deal for me, because I was already, getting involved in the language, and it was exactly the kind of poetic questions I was interested in asking, and we've been together ever since.